Welcome into a very special edition of the Behind the Wall podcast, Christmas edition. Today, I have two very special guests. First off, we got big Keith Goon Conlin, former Penn State offensive lineman, 94 Rose Bowl champ in the building. Yep. And then we got Bradley Spider Caldwell, over 30 years as Penn State football equipment manager. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in today. Spending a little time, chatting it up.
Great to be here, buddy. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Your studio's turning beautiful. You did a hell of a job with it, bud.
Thank you. I guess I'll
pretty
take
amazing.
Definitely stepped it up.
Jeez, the last time I was here, you didn't have a tree, nothing. Look at this.
Yeah, I chopped it down with my bare hands. I told you.
Paul Bunyan over here.
I resemble him well. Goon is freshly shaven today, unfortunately.
Not happy about it.
Yeah, and so if we were to go undefeated, Goon would be sitting here looking like Santa.
So I shave after losses. Mm-hmm. So I've only had 2 shaves. Ohio State, because I did want to look like Old Man Winter at one point. I mean, January 20th is a long time away to go undefeated, and with the beard, and I'm 52 now, so it's gray. So that's straight white now. So I'm not messing around. There's maybe a little tinge of dark in there, but look at Spider over here.
Yeah, I got the good goatee. What do you think it would have looked like if we would have went undefeated? Like, where would you be sitting right now as far as the beard?
I'm down here.
I got
it's me over here. That's what my wife hates it because it just gets so straggly over here. I'll start pulling it. But then we got the Spider-Man over here. I walk in here, I have a glass of wine, and look over, and Spider's got the chin whiskers.
Yeah, it's
see, Landon didn't understand the chin whiskers.
No, whoa. You know what?
We
can get right into it.
Yeah.
You can do anything now. Earrings, any hair. But back in the day, you guys said Joe Paterno had it on lockdown. What were the rules there?
Well, you made mention of it in our radio show on Sunday of how Joe, his uncle, took him to a New York Yankees game, and they looked at how the uniformity of it, they're still. You're not allowed to have beards with the New York Yankees. You know that. You're only allowed to have facial hairs. You only goatee. Now, I don't know if that's going away with Steinbrenner passing away, but that was a Yankees tradition for years, and it was Joe's tradition that it was one of those things that you just hated, and you could not understand why I can't go like 4 days without shaving, or some of the guys would want to wear earrings, and I always wore a hat. I went to Catholic school for 13 years, so every day I could wear a hat to class, I'd be like, oh, this is great, yeah, you know what I mean? But the old man hated the hat in the house.
No hats.
No hat in the house, and then you were always, no scruffiness, you weren't allowed any kind of like excessive beards and stuff like that. You were always cleanly
Had to
shaven.
be clean shaven, yep.
And then,
no earrings. And it's funny, he would always lecture the players at their first squad of the year. Hey, you're not. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with earrings or the long hair or beards, but you're doing that in honor of the players that played before you. Okay, because they just in respect of them. Okay,
it's not like they decided they didn't want to shave. That it just Joe didn't make them shave.
Right.
They just hide behind them.
But like I said, I told you guys earlier, it was a story that's interesting because Tamba Hali, when his freshman year. He tells us, he was in the squad meeting, and Joe tells that same story. And he made an exception. He said, but I am going to tell you guys right now, I'll make an exception for Tamba. Because Tamba, where he was from in Africa, their family has long hair and dreads. Because Tamba came in as a freshman with dreads. And in respect of that, when Tamba left, he comes back the next day to practice, and his head was shaved bald.
Just so be part of the, don't want to make waves, and I'm part of the team.
So
and if you saw the Monday Night Football game the other day when he had those little,
Tamba Hali was doing
really
he was
bad.
doing
He
the
was
Chiefs
doing the Chiefs drum, and he had a skullet. He was completely bald except for the back of his head. And he had some dreads coming out of it, and that's probably he doesn't. The family tradition is not to shave. Liberia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had his agent on, Jim Ivler, and he was telling me the stories about getting his mom over. It was really cool stuff, and I'm sure very appreciative of Penn
scary.
State.
And scary.
I'm sure.
Little side note from an equipment standpoint for the Tamba. Tamba had very, very wide feet, and they were
huge
flat,
feet, though.
Huge, wide, and so his shoes were all had to be custom made, and a lot of them were Nike. Nike would send this thing we could get an imprint of his foot, and it looked like Sasquatch. Okay, and they'd send that thing, and then Nike would send these shoes that they had custom made. But Tamba was so explosive, and he would blow he went through probably shoes about every 2 weeks, because he
would break them?
He would stretch the sides out so bad, and his foot would be rolling over the edges that we had to replace his shoes constantly.
I would never want to have played against Tengwall Ali. I was coaching. I was a strength coach for his last year or two here, and that was, as an offensive lineman, that's the kind of guy you never want to go against because he went 1 million miles an hour every play. He knew no different. And it would be like, if you're like, dude, slow down, he'd be like, nah. He just wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah, those guys, the motors, those are the worst like DNs to go against because they never give up and they'll retrace the entire time.
And you're sitting there, you're getting work because you play offensive line. You guys fatties are going to take some time off. They're going to take a play off here and there, and you're
I got to get my rest in.
Yeah, and he never did, man. It was crazy.
Yep.
And how he worked out in the weight room, he'd go through 2-3 shirts in a workout.
That's
sweater, dude.
He was one of those guys. Towards the halfway through practice, you'd hear he'd be walking by you or running by you, hear, and it was his sweat. His shoes were completely soaked, and it was the water in his shoes. You could
Crazy.
Hear, it was. I never seen a guy sweat like him.
Now, talking about fitting guys in the equipment room, what was fitting this guy's head like?
Oh well,
because this is
no big deal. It's just long.
It's long. You got to get the horse helmet. Did you have to get like an extra long or like?
What size did you wear?
I was an XL.
I wore a 7 3/4 helmet.
Yeah.
What's that?
7 3/4. Right now, I wear a 7 7 or 7 7/8 is a fitted hat I would wear.
Yep.
We just got now. I mean, Spider knows now. Now we just put the cap on, and you just put this little it looks like a skull cap, and it has all these little things on it, and they just take a 360 video of you, and it builds like the perfect helmet.
Yeah.
Does it fills the air up and everything for you?
No, there's no air in it.
No, there's no air.
It's called the True Fit. And it forms fits to their exact.
I often wondered
shape
about
of their
that
head.
because I'm watching an Oregon game today, and I'm like, dude, these guys got a dozen helmets.
Well, and that's why they can do that.
Because that
now.
would drive me crazy not having a helmet that you didn't like bang into.
Yeah, like fit it in. Yeah. Wear it in.
So if what you're saying,
the guts are all form fit to their heads now. So it's much easier to have a game helmet. Because we never had game helmets back in the day either. Because guys would get their helmets broke in. They would not, I don't want to break out a new helmet, You wanted that helmet broke in and used. Well, now that's why they can have multiple helmets. And I know that, Cruz and Ben Herman, their equipment managers, and Juan have those, they have those, that they can do game helmets.
Tell them you're the only player ever who maintained his own helmet. Friday polishing and a face mask every week.
Oh, Bucky.
I used to come in every Friday. I would come in. When your last semester, I mean, we would just be.
You and Bucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would just
Bucky
come
Greeley?
in. Bucky Greeley. Every Friday they'd have to polish the helmet, get all the marks off of it, and get all the.
Yep.
You played Michigan, you got maize and blue all over you.
Yep.
The face mask marks,
Yeah, and
the cuts, the
stripe,
divots.
A lot of people don't realize the stripe's an actual sticker. So they get all beat up, the stripes. So you have to replace the stripes.
So Friday they'd come in and you'd have to put after practice on Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to put your cleats in the in our little cubby hole because they had to paint them.
Yeah, we used to paint shoes. In fact, we're starting that tradition back.
Really?
They
paint
paint
the
them.
shoes?
The equipment guys want to start that tradition back, painting shoes.
Well, so how did that start?
Joe, and it refers to when Goon was talking about the tradition with Joe his uncle taking him to the Yankees games, and he would always say, his uncle would tell him, hey, you look at the, watch the Yankees when they come out of the dugout. They're perfect uniforms, their shoes are polished to perfection, everybody looks the same, and then they were playing the Cardinals that day, and the Cardinals came out there, white shoes, red shoes, their shoes are green and dirty and muddy from the game before. But he said that's a sign of a great team when you take care of the little things. The big things take care of yourself. So take care of the little things. So that's why we do the shoes, because he would take care of all the little things.
And they would have the shoe polish and all. They put it on all the leather, and they would get all rid of all the dirt. And there's usually a lot of paint on your cleats too. Mm-hmm. So you'd had some kind of potion and stuff like that. Half of us were huffing it.
All right, we got to go back to the early '80s real quick. These guys have known each other for a long time, but when was that first impression of the Gooner and the Spider clashing?
I don't know if we ever really hung out or nothing, but my brother got here in '83, Buck, and Spider got here in '83 also. So they were kindred spirits.
Yep.
So every time I'd go and go to a football game on the weekend, there's always
And his family was so dual.
Spider's a recognizable guy in like pictures and stuff. You're like, who's this cat right here? You know, and it's the Spider-Man.
All
like,
arms and legs. And
yeah. And I'd be like, hey, Buck, who is this guy? He'd be like, that's Spider-Man. He's the man. So I would come in there and like, I don't know if you guys do it now, but the Sunday after a football game, you had to go in the equipment room, talk to the trainers, and say, are you okay from the game before?
No, we don't do that.
So about 90% of the time, it was they were just protecting themselves from guys who got in fights the night before, coming with broken hands, and like, you know, they weren't like waiting until Monday and be like, oh, I don't know when I broke my hand, and you're like, let's. I think it happened in the game, type of thing. You know what I mean? So you had a lot of that. So you had to go there, and you just got to get checked out. So you'd walk in, see the trainer, and they'd be like, "Are you all right?" You'd be like, "Yeah, nothing good. I'm just get an ice pack here, get some tape here, or whatever." But my brother would bring me up there all the time, and I'd run in the back with Spider, and he'd be. Dude, I'm like 10 years old, and I'm walking out with like big lineman gloves. I got shoes, I got socks, I got sweatbands all over me.
What was a little Goon like?
I was taller than him.
They were the same size, probably.
Yeah. He was.
But he took care of me, man.
He was taller than me then.
Yeah.
So.
And then,
but no, his family, like I said, and we loved it. His mom and dad were just great people, and they were just such a part of Penn State football family.
Yeah.
And that's why and I knew they with Buck and his brother and his family was so close and loved Penn State so much, and there was no question that his brothers were coming here too.
Yeah, I mean, I know I told you guys the story earlier, but how we treated our managers was the first day you walked into Penn State. Joe Paterno would introduce his staff, or they'd introduce himself, and then he'd bring the football equipment managers. You have 12 young kids; they're your age or younger. And they'd introduce themselves, and Joe's first words were, if any of you don't treat them with the same respect you treat me or my staff, you're gone. I can replace you easy. I can't replace them. And there was nothing like being like Mr. Hotshot Recruit going, oh, okay. Wow, okay. This guy's going to get rid of me if I'm a jerk to these guys and stuff like that. So it was always like, and they were always our age. They were in our classes. Yeah. We, went to breakfast, lunch, dinner together and all. So we always used to hang out with them, which I'm sure they used to hang out with the older guys. And when he was here with Buck and those guys. But there is the 85.
In Maryland.
The 85 Maryland story when Spider saved my family.
How did that go down,
Spider saved my family.
Well, first off, it was the hottest game I've ever worked. I mean, we literally, I've been on the
85 at Maryland.
Years.
They were number one, right?
Opening game of the season.
Yep.
They were number one in the country. Their fans were out of control.
Yeah.
How much they hate us. Normally, you're a Maryland guy. You get it. Times that by 1,000. Because they think that's the year they're going to take us down. That's the year. And it was the hottest freaking day.
Yeah.
I think how hot were you saying it got?
Yeah, well, our trainers would carry this. It was the oddest looking thing. It was like a barometer. It was like a ball thing had the barometric pressure and it had the temperature and everything. And they would always check it. They had it with them all the time because a lot of times back in the AstroTurf was always hotter too. So you're always checking temperatures at all the games. But it was 117 degrees
on the playing surface.
On the playing surface.
So my highlight of my day was watching Penn State football players and Maryland football players like literally standing in position and just dropping. Like just dropping, fainting on the field because there was dehydration. And then at halftime, I will go to my grave telling this story. And anybody who was there knows what I'm talking about. And as Maryland's band came out in wool uniforms and they're doing a halftime show, there's 300 of them, 200 of them, and I think 40 were left on the field. Like it looked like a Civil War battlefield with just like bodies just laying all over the field. But the story is, and I say Spider saved my family because my father was going to go to prison that day for murder. And my mother was already going to be dead if my father killed the kid that he was. So post-game, anybody who knows Maryland Stadium, the visitors' locker room was pretty close to where we were sitting. So we were just sitting after the game waiting for Buck to come out and his buddies. We were at the Koozies, the Kisners, the Russos, the same families we tailgated with forever. Manoa, I guess his parents weren't there, but so we're sitting there, and the football sideline is about 20 yards to our right, and they're just dumping coolers of ice and water. And I'm just like sitting there, and my dad's like, "Hey, come with me." So he grabs like 4 big glasses they had bought for of Coke that day. You know what I mean? So my dad's going down there, and he's trying to scoop some ice out of this and get a glass of water because my mom was going down. My mom was going. She was bad. She was in a it was a bad. It was bad. And my dad tries to grab this water, and one of Spider's assistants or one of Spider's co-managers, hey, that's Penn State water. That's Penn State ice. You can't touch that. This and that. And my dad looked up at him, and I'm like, and Spider's like, oh my God. He saw the look in my dad's eyes, and my dad was.
His dad's the size of him.
Yeah.
And so's his mother.
And this guy would have, he would have grabbed, my dad would have grabbed this kid and just like snapped him in two. And he's trying to grab some ice, and Spider's like, no, that's Bucky's mom, that's Bucky's dad. Let him get whatever he wants. And this and that. And then this kid's like running ice bags up to my mom in the stands and stuff like that. She's like sitting there with like a 12-pound bag of ice in her head. But Spider, he saved it.
But it was, like I said, I only saw the first 3 plays of that game. The third play, Michael Zordich intercepted it and did a pick 6, ran a touchdown back, and in fact, he had, and one of his shoes flew off.
One of his shoes, one of those beautiful Nikes you had.
There, you can see him. You can see him walk running in his sock. But anyway,
sure, Joe was like, Spider, what's going on?
But we were just trying to keep. See, back then the managers actually ran the water, and we're like, we had trainers, but we didn't have a bunch of student trainers. So the managers did kind of both, where we were actually. We did all the water and whatnot. So
you didn't have like milkshake people and vanilla latte people chasing the players around like now with the Gatorades and the Gator Loads and the gel caps
snacks
and the Jello and the granola bar.
Oh, I never touched
and
any of that food.
You want a foot massage, Mister? You want this or that? I mean, we got water.
Yeah.
Well, and you guys had Coke breaks too, though, right?
Coke breaks.
For 1 year, I had a Coke break, and then in '92, I believe, right?
They switched it then, but
Then it became Pepsi breaks.
But
Did it? So how did that come up? Was a Coke break a thing when you first got here?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, and we got a Pepsi contract negotiated in like 2000 or 1993 or two.
The Pepsi State Nike Lions.
So we went from the Cokes to the Pepsis. And Joe never liked that. He was a
Sure he was.
guy. Yeah. So then
It was the old 7-ounce bottles of Coke. And they had to pop these things up, so they had returnable cases. So the managers would go there before them. They had
we
to
had to open them all up 'cause
24.
Joe gave you 30 seconds to drink it, and you had to have them open. You couldn't like open them for each guy. Take forever. So we had these
pop them?
wooden trays,
Wooden
of the
trays.
old 7.5-ounce bottle.
And you would just laugh. And then anybody who's watching this who's an old school player will laugh because it was like the dumbest thing, but it was the greatest thing.
yeah, a Coke break. That sounds
It was
awesome.
like because like guys, we literally saw fights. I saw Tioka Jackson fight. I think may have been Mark D'Onofrio over the last bottle of Coke. So a lot of the guys would go and they would shake him up and like get out all the
the carbonation.
the carbonation, and they would just bang it down, and then they had a sugar high.
Like Mean Joe Green it.
When you were like this is the greatest thing ever. Then 10 minutes later, you come down from your Coca-Cola high, and you're like.
I like how you make sure to say Coca-Cola.
I said Coca-Cola.
Not
yes.
your Coke high.
You don't want to come down from your Coke high. No. There's a Coca-Cola high.
Yeah.
Well, good. So
But it was just weird because it was like one of those, and then in the stadium he would have popsicles for us post.
Yeah, we started having popsicle breaks.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of like fruits and like icy fruits after practice when it's hot out. So you still do some of
Feet
that.
rubbing and massage chairs.
There are massages 2 times a week. So, but only the starters get them. Not everybody, just the
We
starters.
got barber chairs now.
Yeah, only the starters. And we got barber chairs, so we got barbers. Yeah. And so I found out.
You have
so,
massages?
absolutely. And so only in season though. But you know what I found out? So I go in and I get told. So if any current players are watching this, little tidbit. But you have access to a free massage once a week, year round, at least as a football player. I don't know about all sports. So I didn't know this. So the season ended, and I'm hitting up our athletic trainer, and I'm like, so I start scheduling massages once a week. And all off season, I was getting a massage once a week. And then in season, if you're a starter, you can get Monday and Thursday, you can get a massage, 50 minutes.
Oh, great.
All right, Goon. So obviously you made a lot of visits up to Penn State as a young kid, and you were bred to play Penn State football. What were those recruitment visits like as a young child, your older brother on the team?
On the team,
national
it was
champions?
fantastic. I mean, who had it better than a 10 and 12-year-old kid watching Penn State? They went undefeated 85 and 86, which is Bucks Jr. and Spider and Bucks Jr. and senior year. And I'm over there hanging out with you and hanging out, tailgating with my parents and stuff like that. There's a reason why I love tailgating. You come to my tailgate every week because I do it out of honor and respect to them because they loved it so much. And so then we'd leave the tailgate, go back to the apartment, and I literally saw Mike Tyson from when he was like, he won the title at age 20. I think that was like 85. So like there's like 2 full years of me watching Mike Tyson fights with these guys and stuff. And then they would somehow slip me a 6-pack of beer, and 12-year-old Goon would have a couple and pass out. And then I'd wake up the next day and they'd be like, they'd all gone out after I left, after I had, gone to sleep.
When did your parents didn't they start getting didn't they get an RV or a
camper?
A camper, and they put it up a
They got a camper in 1993.
Up on the 7 Mountains. They started.
They have it up. So it was.
They left it there all year, I think, right?
Yeah, till the day my dad died, it was still there. And then the people who were his neighbors, they bought it. So
nice.
My parents started coming here in '83. It was to the point where they would leave at like 3 or 4 in the morning, get up to Penn State. They go right to the beer store. There was a Center Beverage. Was there one of those down? It was off of College Ave before Nittany. So my dad would go in there, get a keg of beer. This is kegs in the parking lot. And we would go to the tailgate spot, and we would tailgate all day. And then we would go to my cousin's house, Richie Enow, and him and his mom, and my mom and dad, they usually came up with us, and we would hang out and then leave at like 10 o'clock the next morning. And then that was 83. But by 1997, my parents loved it up here so much, they started coming up like Thursday morning and leaving like Tuesday. By the time my little brother was done.
Yeah.
Really? It's an easy place to fall in love with.
Did you and Puppy overlap?
Yeah. We had 3 years. We had 93, 4,
Together?
and 5. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Never played in a game next to him.
Oh.
We had a chance in the Outback Bowl my senior year. I was trying to tell Bill, put me in there for a play next to my brother and this and that. And he's like, no, we got the other guys in there and all that stuff. But he played and they all played. But I never played next to him. But we had 3 years. But
that's cool.
Yeah.
Those guys are his guys, Jonesy, Fernattle, Schneider, Conway. They're 2 years younger than us, and you had Noble, Anderson, Tilshey in between us.
Yep.
We're all still thick as thieves, so.
That's awesome.
And then you worked staff for us. Goon worked.
And then I came, so I had the 80s guys I grew up with. I was like the little, I guess you'd call me like the little.
Little tyke.
No, I was the.
The word little never.
Yeah, little and Goon.
It doesn't go together.
Oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the line. Is our mascot. I was the team mascot for those guys, and then like I played in the '90s, and then I came back in '05, and I worked 05, 6, and 7 with the team then.
In the weight room.
So I got to know all those guys, and I helped out, in the weight room with JT. Went and got my master's degree, and then was staying here, and that's how I got into the radio business. After that, I wanted to stay with the football thing, but Spider knows my 2 best friends are Johnny Butler and Craig Fitzgerald, who came in there after Joe, but they're lifers. Like, that's not me, man. I don't know, you've hung around me long enough to know that I have my hand in 55 different things. I just don't. I just can't. Those guys, it's 365 with those guys, and it's just like I can't.
That would
do
have driven you crazy to be.
Yeah, I couldn't sit behind a desk. I had the ADD like a mofo. So
Yeah, you got to. It's a different lifestyle.
And you're a people person too. You want to be
out
and about.
I'm now.
Sure, I'd be a great recruiter and all that, but it's just like
Oh, see, I can't get into kissing the ass of like a 16-year-old kid.
Oh, I would never do that.
I
That's sort of why I got out of it.
Well, I think this is actually a good time.
Yeah.
Listen, we got a couple giveaways to do here for Nittany Nation. I'm going to have Goon and Spider both open up one gift that we are going to be giving away. So go check out my Twitter at Landon Tengwall for all the instructions and how you can win. But first up, we'll have Goon open up. Here you go, Goon.
Oh, boy.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
That's nice, but don't ruin that.
I will not ruin it. Trust me. Do I want to?
Gentleman, yeah. Undresser.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Undress.
Look at that, baby.
Yeah.
See that, Spider?
You got to
Very
save
nice
the bows.
touch. Like I told you guys off air, the Conlin family would go 7 to 8 years with the same wrapping paper. It's actually very impressive.
That is really impressive.
You have 8 kids, you got to
Yeah, you got to save as much as you can.
survive.
Where and when you can.
Survive. Great.
Oh, boy, I ripped it.
Oh, well.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that.
Ooh, baby.
Oh, baby.
Joe Pa Wheaties box.
Can we just say, you guys can fill the box. They don't make cereal that full. There you go.
Wow, that is
Right?
heavy.
They don't make cereal that full at
no.
all. I mean, that's from early 2000s.
And it's wider.
It's much wider.
That lot of boxes are skinny now.
It ain't the same.
Nice.
It is not. All right, so that will be.
That's a classic.
It is.
You got to appreciate that.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So this is one of the gifts we will be giving away on my Twitter, and then Spider is going to go ahead and open up this
Spider.
other. And this is
Spider's a ripper.
Yep. This is team issued gear. So
What?
technically, this is not for sale, and very exclusive stuff here. Thankfully, we had some teammates that transferred, didn't want some of their gear, so the Nittany Nation gets the benefit. You guys can rip it. It's all right.
It's a 1X t-shirt.
It actually is the 1X.
Is it really? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, it actually is. It fits a little small, though, so whoever gets it will be all right. I don't know. I'm sure Spider's seen this one.
Whoa! I actually have this at home. I love this.
Camo?
Little camo. This is,
Look at
yeah, we'll have to give you. So you got the camo hoodie, you got the backwards American flag on the side, and that means you're going into battle. It's you'd
Nice.
like that,
Always
wouldn't you?
going forward.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So real nice, like I said, we got these last year, I believe.
Nice.
And so yeah, all the instructions will be also in the description below, but I'll put that all out there. We'll have some cool giveaways for you guys and get you guys hopefully some cool Christmas presents.
I got one of those from my boy Ben Herman.
Yeah. All right, hold on, we'll take. We can cut this a second. All right, we still rolling, Johnny?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll get into. All right,
Cool.
We'll get back to Spider. All right, Spider, we got to get into how you influence one of my favorite movies of all time, The Waterboy, Adam Sandler. I'll let you take it away, but Adam Sandler made a visit to State College back in the 90s. How did that go down?
Well, he was in town doing a concert and stand up, and he wanted to come by the locker room. He wanted to meet Joe. Now he's from
A lot
Brooklyn.
of guys do that.
Yeah.
Wanted to come meet Joe?
Garth Brooks spent a whole week there
Yeah.
back in the day. He was at every practice for a week. I mean,
Kenny Chesney wanted to meet Joe. I mean, a bunch of they.
all the time. Everybody who came into town, they wanted to go to watch practice and meet the old man and all.
So, well, Adam was a big Joe fan because he's from Brooklyn. Joe was from Brooklyn. So I got to meet. Joe's like a legend in Brooklyn. So he comes over and Joe was still at his house and the team was in breakdown meetings. And so he's kind of holding court out in the locker room, talking to the players, and just having a blast and telling jokes and stuff. And so then he comes back into the locker room and he's talking or in the equipment room, he's talking to us and whatnot. And he's like, so pretty soon here comes one of the coaches in and says, hey, Joe just arrived. So Adam, you want to come back with me? Adam's like, oh, I'm nervous. And he's all nervous. And like, any advice, guys, when I meet Joe? What should I say? I'm like, well, we do have one little advice from you. Remember Goon earlier saying in our thing here that about hats and buildings? We're like, Adam, you better take your hat off. He's going to yell at you. Oh, thank you. So he took his hat right off because he was wearing his hat. And Joe would have. I've seen Joe, people with total strangers. Get your hat off.
The hat off.
In the building. So he went back and met Joe. Now, I did not see that that whole thing. But so anyway, we go up to practice. We're practicing in Aluba Hall that day. And so Adam's gone around. He had his his manager with him. And his manager had a little camera and he's filming different things at the practice. And so Adam's walking around just watching and observing and stuff like that. And at the time we used to have our water that we used to have for the guys were these little pumpers. They were yellow pumpers with wheels, and they had 4 nozzles on them you'd actually had to pump them to
They're electric
get
now.
the pressure. Yeah, they're electric.
Oh,
now.
I know. We just grab them
So,
and you
yeah.
just squeeze
So
it.
basically, it's like a sprayer that you spray chemicals on your tree or whatever.
It looked like
You like Roundup, the
Roundup
Roundup, yeah.
pesticide cleaner.
correct is what
But
exactly.
it had 4 handles on it, and then the trainer had to pump it.
Yeah, to get
with
the
a cow.
pressure in it, and then you would just it had handles on it, and you'd take a drink. They worked great. So Adam loved that. He's filming it. His manager's filming it, and God, that's really cool. And then they're spraying them, and he actually wanted to play around with one, So that was he told me later. They let us know that was the inspiration for that when he was wearing that backpack thing
On the
with
Waterboy?
Oh, the
Waterboy.
H2O.
That was the inspiration for that scene.
I heard. I guess LeVar Arrington was a little bit of inspiration too for. At least when I did research, I don't know if that's true, but apparently he was studying a little bit of LeVar for how Bobby Boucher was a maniac at linebacker, all and around the football.
Yep.
No, that's a fantastic story.
But it was a good time. He had a good time, and but yeah, we really enjoyed when Garth was there too. Garth came over to practice every day, and he actually started. We geared him all up, and he would come over and he started hanging out with our wide receiver coach, and he was throwing the ball. He would actually was throwing the ball, to the wideouts and stuff like that. So it was a good time. Good time.
I think Garth Brooks did 7 shows at BJC.
6. He did
6.
What?
6.
He spent a whole week at State College.
6 shows in a row, like in a day,
Yeah,
like
in a
next
row.
day.
Next day. Yeah.
I bet people just probably kept coming, huh?
Well, they put tickets up for sale, and then when one show sold out, they said, okay, let's go into the next day and do another one, and we ended up selling like 6 shows out. 6 shows.
That's crazy.
So it was crazy.
Good.
First concert.
That's awesome.
First concert. That's great. Good. Switching gears back to when you came back in 2005.
Yep.
What was that decision like coming back to State College?
It was a different place that I left. No doubt.
How so?
No doubt.
Changed?
The old man wasn't as involved. It wasn't a health thing or anything like that, but I don't think the kids feared him as much as we did. You know what I mean? It was like, we would come in the locker room just deathly afraid of, seeing the old man there. But it was the summertime when I came back, so Joe was never really around. And then you would laugh at me all the time about the rules that we used to have back in the day.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't even see. Listen, we
wouldn't see a position coach or our coach maybe 2 or 3 times from spring until season. You guys have meetings now.
Oh, every day. You got skill instruction.
It's insane, man.
Yeah, you got full team run-throughs in the summertime.
We would have had a revolt. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, honest to God, I mean, that was our thing. Is that we were there to work. We'd put our 5 days of hard work in there and this and that, and then we'd be gone. Like those 2, like Saturday and Sunday are our times, And then it was like, well, I came back 4 out of 5 losing seasons or 3 out of 4 losing seasons. So the environment was just like negative. Everybody was just miserable. And I just thought that I have a pretty funny way about me, but when it comes time to work, we work. But when it comes time to play, we'll play. And, you don't confuse the two, but there's definitely time for both. And I've had a lot of guys come back and say that to me and be like, dude, that place was so horrible to work out in. It was just because the pressure was on JT and Jeremy, the strength staff, the equipment staff, the football coaches staff, because it was like, is Joe staying too long? Is coaching outdated? Is his strength system outdated? All this and all that. And it was. I think the kids were sick of hearing it, and I think that the kids knew that much like this season's team right here, they're pretty well led from inside. I think they're pretty well led by older guys, and I think that I will go to my deathbed saying I never played down with Michael Robinson or Alan Zamitis, but I seen them, want to fight dudes in the locker room. And I always respected that. And then they were the captains of the 05 and with Puzz Leslie, and Puzz Leslie was the star. Getting put in the Hall of Fame, by the way.
Yeah, shout out Puzz.
Yeah. Shout out Puzz. Where
Tonight,
tonight,
actually, as we say, you're recording this.
So
tonight.
So Puzz, it was great because Alan and Michael ran the team, and Puzz could just be himself. And then when we went back in 06, Puzz had to be the vocal leader, the on-field leader, all of this and that, and he didn't thrive in that to begin with because he would rather just be like, listen, just follow me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where Michael Robinson and Alan Zamitis are giving the pregame speeches and getting everybody jacked up. That wasn't Puzz's strong point early, but he picked it up and learned eventually how to do that. But those guys, when I got back here, and again, I'm telling you, this place was a morgue. It was bad. It was 4 out of 5 losing seasons. People were just miserable and hating the world. And then, you start winning a couple of games and this and that, and then it all comes back. It's just fun. And
we had a good recruiting class, and I know, and what Goon's saying too. It's like Joe was a more like what was funny because remember at the Indiana game the year before, that's when they kind of went to Joe and approached Joe about Joe. You need to maybe think about getting rid of your offensive coaches or retiring. And Joe said, "I'll take care of it. I know what to do. I know what I need to do." And it's funny. So we had that big goal line stand in Indiana.
Yep.
And win that game. And then we got to Michigan State, and they were ranked that year and doing well, and we killed them, Michigan State. Yep. Okay. Then the very next year,
a lot of momentum, man.
And we just had that momentum. And then next year we we changed the offense a little bit, and with the Michael Robinson's, his style and everything, and we were, we've got some good freshman wide receivers.
Derek Williams.
Yep, and Justin King. And,
Lydell, King, Norwood,
so
Deion Butler.
Yeah, and we just took off from there. And it's funny. So after they went to Joe's house and asked him to maybe step down or fire guys, from that point we went 13-1 from that point on. And then we won the Big Ten championship.
12-0 with regulation.
Yeah,
not the extra 2 seconds. That was actually the loss. So it was
13-1. Yeah. We really should have been.
What are we talking? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Michigan.
The only loss that year was to Michigan, at Michigan.
What, they put time back on the clock?
BS call.
Yep.
Typical and a classic Michigan, at Michigan type of thing.
Yeah.
Definitely screwed it. The game was over. We had won.
The game was, they put 2 seconds back on the clock, and then miraculously they had 1 play left in the game with 2 seconds from the goal line.
And they scored.
To win.
Or the game would have been over.
I look back on the Spider, we would have gotten screwed again. Because Texas and USC were going to the national title that game that year.
Oh yeah, and they would
have never replaced us. Even if we were undefeated.
Vince Young was it?
Vince Young.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you think about that. We would have gotten the 94. We would have gotten it all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been bad. Was that the same year that Joe broke his leg? Or that
I believe it was
06?
6 or 7. It was my 5 or 6. Was it 6?
Yeah.
6 or 7. It was definitely 6 or 7.
You got the honor of going into the locker room with Joe at Wisconsin, right?
Was it Corliss that hit him? Was it Corliss?
Corliss, and there's a linebacker from Wisconsin.
He got pushed out of bounds. The tight end plowed right into Joe on the sideline.
It was bad. It was bad.
Broke
But
his
they put him in a golf cart, and I got to say it, man. And Spider, you could back me up on this. That's a tough SOB.
Oh, my. I mean, didn't even want to go off the field.
They want to go off the field, and dude, that thing was shattered.
We set him on the bench. Yeah, it was broken.
It was broken front, side, left, right, back, front.
What was it? It was something like 21
It was
fractures.
done, dude. And he's like sitting there, and he's like sitting next to me on the bench, and they're like, and he's like, hey, everyone with a headset, he's like, they put the headset on me, and they're like, if they have a question, let me know. And then he was like, all right, I'm going to go back to the locker room now. So I got in the cart, and I went back with him into the locker room. And then they stopped the game, Billima.
Yeah.
Stopped the game because they thought that he was inside with a television and then a headset. He was like forwarding, some crazy stuff to the sideline. I'm like, the old man's laying there. He's done. Yeah. He's beat the crap. There's a 26-inch Magnavox TV in the corner, and I have a headset on from 1981.
Yeah, the TV's 25 seconds behind, too.
Exactly. I'm watching Michigan State, Michigan. I'm like, can I get our game on here? It was like one of those things. And then they stopped the game and bring me out, but I'll tell you what, I mean, me and the old man, we had a great relationship. He loved my mom and dad, and then, he always took care of me, and I always took care. The respect was always there, but Spider will tell you, when you're 18 to 23 years old, you get sick of the old man stuff. You're just like, oh, man, it's just like, God, really? Like, just chill, relax, this and that, but he's always harping. Yeah. And then, about 6 months out of school, you're like, God. He was right.
He was right.
He was right.
It's
like they always ask what he was like, and I say, every 18-year-old kid thinks their father's an idiot because I could do it better. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're saying, Dad. That's crazy. You don't know how it is now, but he knows exactly how it is because times don't change.
Yeah.
And the old man was just like that. You hated him.
Yep.
From 18 to 23 when you were here, and it was like, come on, dude, let me wear a freaking earring, let me wear, a tattoo, let me wear a hat, this and that type of thing. And you wouldn't make it too long, trust me.
No, I was going to say all of it. I don't think I do.
It was always so funny. Guys come on to recruiting visits, and you're just like, there's a kid sitting next to Joe. He's got dreads down to here. He's got earrings in his ear. He's got earrings in his nose, and I'm just like,
there's no way that kid's
ain't gonna last there, bud. Hey, you signed that piece of paper, you better as well put those things away because they ain't coming back out.
But it's amazing. In my 30 years, it's hearing the former players that would come back. And like, I hated that old man when I was here, and I was frustrated.
Everybody did. You hated them. We all hated them.
But then, everyone was like, but you know what? He was exactly right. Yep. He was so, and they had so much respect for him. And I think Mike Reed put it the best. We had that anniversary of Joe's death. It would have been his anniversary. It was 2016, the Temple game. over in Medler Field. We had all the Lettermen. We had about 450 Lettermen come back to honor Joe. It would have been his 50th anniversary of his first game at Beaver Stadium in 1966, and this was 2016. Anyway, Mike Reed, our All-American defensive tackle and a Grammy Award winner, he was playing the piano and he's emceeing it. And he's
Who Joe threatened us with every day.
And said, he said, and he's introducing, he's talking about Joe, and he wrote this song, a really cool song about Joe, and he said, guys, we all feared the old man because we didn't want to disappoint him. And that's what it was. It was a respect for all he's done and what he's done. And like Goon said, when he came back in 2005, he was surprised how it had changed, and it was like nobody feared Joe as much then.
It's a little more lax.
But it was I look at it as Joe went from like that tough fatherly figure to more like a grandfatherly figure, and he was really more. I really really enjoyed my last 3-4 years with Joe, because that's when I learned the most about Penn State history. Yeah. And he was more, because he would come in before, when the guys were still in breakdown meetings, he would come in from home and he'd sit in the equipment room, which he never did before. And we'd eat popcorn. We had a big popcorn bag in there from the stadium. And he was sitting there and he propped the feet up on the workbench, and he just started talking to me and talking to the managers and asking questions. And that's where I learned more about the uniform and the practice jerseys and the shoe, painting the shoes and the traditions. And we're talking, and he tells stories about playing football. I mean, the guy played football in high school against Vince Lombardi.
Vince Lombardi coached a game against him.
Yeah.
The city title game that Joe played in high school was coached. The opposing coach was Vince Lombardi.
It's insane.
What? That's crazy.
I said, dude, that's the truth. And I will say that when I came back, I said the guys had feared him and stuff like that. But he said he took the grandfatherly role over, and that's a true statement. He had that hey, but I'll tell you what, that one year when he got hit in the preseason and he busted up his ribs, that season, that was as spry as I had seen him in the 4 years that I had come back. Yeah. And he was really, and then he got and he got hit with the ribs and stuff like that and knocked him out.
He was taking a beating on the sideline, man.
Yeah. No, he was always, but he was actually spry for 80-some years old. Yeah. But I'll say it, and then he always used to yell at us about Mike Reed was the toughest SOB ever. None of you guys could have licked Mike Reed. Mike Reed won the Outland back in '66 or 68, 69. Yeah, he was a bad dude. We watched a film with this guy. We had John Palmgren, the Hammer. we had the Hammer bring out the 12 millimeter, 8 millimeter
video
tape.
Coordinator, yeah.
And dude, he took on a D tackle. He took on a double team, the pulling guard, the pulling tackle. Maybe the fullback hit him, and there's 6 guys trying to block Mike Reed. Meanwhile, the running back's 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage getting drilled by 8 guys. So Reed's taking all these blocks and this and that. And all these guys are unblocked making all these tackles. So did love the old man. I will say, you said that grandfatherly thing. So surprisingly and very scaringly, they made me in charge of the hospitality room on bowl trips for 2005, 6, and 7. So they gave me the keys to and then they gave me workers, bowl workers, and they would hey, what do you guys want to drink today? But let's go, Jaeger, tequila, all this.
So you were managing. So
I was managing the hospitality room where all the athletic directors and coaches and their wives would come. All of our coaches and wives would come. Yeah. So it was a big party and all this and all that. But I will tell you, that times getting done practice at 2 in the 10 or 11 or 12, in the afternoon, morning or whatever, the players would go.
This is 2005.
5, 6, or 7.
When he was there,
any of these times
when he was a GA in the weight room.
That was my favorite time because I could just sit in that hospitality room, and we would be watching a bowl game, watching Bowling Green versus Boston College, and he's sitting there just telling stories.
Yeah.
And I'm dude, I could sit here for days listening to these stories.
Yeah.
He's talking about the coach of BC. I forget his name. He's a big Italian guy. He's he was a knock-kneed guy and this and that. So we couldn't figure out how we could play him because he couldn't go straight. So we angled him in. And I'm sitting there, I'm damn. And he's telling these stories. And this is the head coach of Boston College. And he's telling stories about when he played at Penn State. And then, he didn't have the upfield burst and the lean. So they just triggered him in just a direct. And he goes, he had 7, 8 sacks his senior year and this and that. I'm damn, man. It's just unbelievable. That was my favorite time when Joe when Joe was Joe. He wasn't Joe Pa. That was the coolest time. And you had many of those experiences. That's the best time. And it is grandfatherly and fatherly because you just sit there and you just listen and you're like a sponge. You know, and
I will say this too. So the Orange Bowl, I'm still, myself and Tom Venarino, our director of football operations at the time, we're still very good friends with the executive director of the Orange Bowl. Okay? Goon is still a legend in their eyes. They still remember him. He said he ran the ultimate, because the hospitality room is supposed to be run by their host. The Orange Bowl has their own. All the bowl games have their own people.
Palms.
Okay, yeah, Eric Palms. I
remember the name.
He's still, yep. And Eric, we just talked to Eric about 2 weeks ago, and he said.
Semifinals are in the Orange Bowl.
There.
I was about to say Orange Bowl. We might got it.
Semifinals in the Orange Bowl, just so you know.
Trust me, we're already there, dude. We're already there. We better make it because Tommy and I are already there. Palm's already said.
Whoa!
Yeah, you got to bring Goon.
Come on now.
We got it.
Well, speaking of trips between you two.
Oh, we might talk about a little travel.
05, Goon and Spider went on a little trip to Minnesota, right?
Oh, baby, yeah.
Twins.
Twins. That's.
There you go.
You know the movie Twins, and with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we were playing Minnesota in the Metrodome, and we had to, because they were having a baseball game on a Friday night, and they had to turn the field over, so they needed our equipment in there on Thursday. So we needed to actually have the truck there and unloaded on Thursday the day before because of the Twins. So we didn't have time to do it on Saturday of the day of the game. So they were sending me out early on a plane to coordinate setting up the locker room. Okay, so they didn't want me to go by myself. So Goon was in the weight room. They said, "Goon, we want you to escort Spider. Give him a hand." So anyway, we had to make our flights at the last minute. So we're flying out of State College on a puddle jumper to Philly to get the plane to go out. And so we're on one of those commuter planes. Now Goon on a commuter plane, a little bit challenging.
Yep.
Okay, so he's getting up on a plane. I'll never forget it. So we come to the airport. We meet each other at the airport. We're wearing the exact same shirts.
A
staff
khaki
shirt.
pants and a staff shirt is the exact same shirt.
Exact same shirt. So we literally are dressed the same. So we get on the plane, we walk out the tarmac, and we're going up there, and we're walking down the aisle. And Goon has to.
Landon will know though.
Okay.
He'll know. He'll understand.
Oh yeah. Well, you would.
When you're hunched over on one of those commuter planes and people
Mm-hmm.
are looking at you like, please don't sit next to me. Please don't sit next to me.
So we're going. I'm
please
first.
don't sit next to me. Please.
So
please.
Goon's behind me, and we're walking down the aisle, and he's stooped over, and I'm walking down, and
he's standing up for like a peacock.
So the whole time, him, he's like, "This is my twin brother Spider. This is my twin brother Spider. Meet my twin brother Spider.
This is Spider, my twin."
So I look at this lady, and again, we got our seats late, so I had a seat behind her, and Goon's seat was on the window. So I see this lady looking up. She's like, "Oh God, no! Please don't sit beside me." Oh God,
see the fear of God in her face.
She's like, "Please God, no! Please God, no!" So sure enough, I go past her. She's like, and then Goon's like, "Ma'am, would you want him to switch with? Would you want to switch with him, and he could sit beside me?" "Oh, please, good, thank you. Oh, please, yes.
Oh, please.
Please, yes."
Spider's standing up. He's like, "Do you mind if I sit next to my twin brother?" She's like, "Yes, that's fine. That's fine. Please do it. Please sit next. Please."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
That's my jam on Southwest. Me and my dad, if we ever fly Southwest, you pick your seats, and we'll sit down aisle and window, and then just kind of like make ourselves look big. No one ever touches that little seat. You don't want it. You don't want it. All right, real quick. Last thing I want to get into real quick. Let's transition into the '94 season. And I think outside of the Rose Bowl, the most memorable game, Illinois, down 21. But starting off the day, wake up in the hotel, alarms aren't going off. All the electricity.
They are going off.
Well, I guess they are going off. The electricity was out, Spider, from a standpoint of all the managerial stuff you had to do. What was that like?
First off, there had to be a sabotage. Because we were in this hotel. It was like a round hotel, about 22 stories high, right in the middle of Fraternity Row in Illinois. It was right in there, like fraternity near their.
How did Rocco keep his job after that one? Jeez.
So, there's no question this sabotage was involved. So anyway, so the 22nd floor is our banquet room where we're having a hospitality, and that's where our training room. Remember, I told you earlier, all our taping was done at the hotel. We tape ankles and stuff. Guys would get in their suit and ties, get on the bus, and go with their ankles taped. But anyway, so all our treatments and that was all done up in the room. That was the 22nd floor. So we had trunks up there, all the taping stuff. We had all of our
elevators,
all our video stuff. So the elevators are down.
Nothing.
So literally,
they had to walk everything
22
down.
22 flights of stairs All the equipment had to go down. To get to the
And
bar.
no lights. And then all you
In the
saw
dark.
was the emergency lighting systems
That's it. Yeah.
in the hallways, in your room, and
they
then
couldn't cook any
in the
food.
stairwells.
We couldn't cook pregame meal.
What'd you guys eat?
You know, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that like for breakfast we didn't really have anything because there was nothing ready
air.
for us.
Yeah.
It was a 3:30 game, 2:30 out there, so we're out there, and they're like, well, they just ran outside, and we are literally in the dark, and it's like the emergency like spotlights are on and stuff like that, and you're sitting there, and Joe didn't want us to have to go up and down the steps anymore than we had to. So we got down one time, and the old man said, no, you're not going back up to get your bags. So we had all Spider's equipment guys go into all of our rooms and pack our bags because he did not want us running up 22 more flights of stairs and then down 22 flights of stairs. We had a game in 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the right call. So
Yeah.
we would just be sitting down there. We would just be sitting in the lobby, the dark lobby.
As my guys' tongues are hanging out.
We're like starving,
Coming down,
like what
carrying
the
food.
hell? And then his guys are walking down, like carrying like the all the travel cases and stuff like that. I mean, we had films, so you had films set up, so you had all the projection screens and all these rooms and all that stuff upstairs, and we were meeting. They had to bring all that stuff down. So these guys were worked, man.
And the players didn't have much because the players, when you go for one night, they
you
just
got
have
travel.
Oh, he's got a bag,
military bags,
backpack.
so-
something
So
like
we
that.
get in there and.
Yeah.
And they get, and then Rocco and Vicky come in, and our pregame meal, they start handing out. We go to this place next door, and we're having hoagies and pizza and Pepsi. That was our pregame meal. And then we have talked about this before, how regimented away games are.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the old man was very regimented with the time, with what we ate and stuff like that. But as football players, you're also very, very, very regimented and almost crazy
you can't do your
with
routine.
you got with your routines and stuff. So our routines were done.
Yep.
So our routine was we're sitting in the hallway laughing our asses off, eating hoagies, chasing down with Pepsi and pizza. And like fat guys, you're like, this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah, this is so awesome. So we go out to the game and we're stretching and we're doing pregame warm-ups. And I'm like, and I'm burping. And I'm like, oh God. It's onions. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this ain't good. This is not good. And we're just laughing.
Well, clearly started out 21-0. Right?
Oh, that's what happened is that we were not ready to play.
Yeah.
And they come out and they jumped us quick. Like
And they had a hell of a defense, too.
they had a hell of a
Simeon
defense.
Rice.
Yeah, Simeon Rice, Kevin Hardy, John Holacek, and Dana Howard. That's 4 all Big Ten linebackers right there. Yeah, they were pretty nasty, dude. KC threw a pick on the second play of the game. The first play of the game, we had a fumble. It was pretty bad. It was we got just complete mayhem. And it was just like, we weren't ready to go. There's nothing more than that. We were not ready to go for that game. We were laughing and joking. It was just too much. And then the sidelines were starting to get a little crazy. And I want to bring Spider into this one
Well, and then we started working our way back.
because we were working our way back, and then it started to rain.
Right. Well, then,
And it was the old turf.
so we're still down.
21-0, and then 28-7 were the 3 bad scores.
Well, then we're down only 3 points or 4 points. No, down 4.
What's that?
At the very end, with about 4 minutes.
You're down
left.
4 or 5 points, something like that, right?
We're down 3 because we won by 4.
That's right. So, anyway,
Throughout the game, our guys couldn't figure out the cleats to start the game.
because that's
And
after.
this is their
Right.
That's their baby right there.
this
Because
is
we
not-
had 3 different types
Right.
of cleats for turf.
Yeah, and see, turf games are actually more a pain in the neck. To me, the old AstroTurf was more of a pain in the neck than grass games. And people always find that surprising. It was like, but you never know the conditions of somebody's turf field. A lot of outdoor turf fields are, some of them, if they're hard as rocks, so that it's like playing on a concrete,
Veteran Stadium.
yeah. Oh, well, veterans that's the worst. Or you can get some stadiums even that are soft because there's a big pad underneath them. So we would take 3. We had 3 different kind of turf shoes we'd take. One was basically it was called the Mako 150X. It was a BBX, and it was a flat bottom sneaker. Okay, with
Circular.
it was just a regular sneaker you'd like play on a gym floor. Okay,
You could play
Then we
basketball
had-
on them.
Then we had what we called the waffle shoes.
Yep.
The Mako, that was the Mako 150X. And they were like these waffles, these little square nubbies, okay, that gave you a little bit of a grip. Then we had a shoe called the Destroyer, and it was a rubber points. They were like about a quarter-inch long, and they would come to a little point, and they were rubber, like a whole bunch of them underneath. So we had those 3
for gripping.
Yeah. So usually you use those in a driving rainstorm when it was really raining, like and those fields look like almost like a pond.
Yep.
Those shoes were the best because they really gripped them well into the AstroTurf.
Really good for blowing knees out.
The guys would always, so most guys wore their BBXs or their Makos, so they'd have them on, and then the other 2 shoes that weren't being used were hanging behind the bench on these racks. I used to have these 2 big racks with their locker numbers on them, and all the shoes were hanging up right behind the bench. We had them covered with tarps and stuff. Well then, so with about 4 minutes left in the game, they punt the ball, and we get the ball on a 4-yard line. We're losing by 3, okay? So we have 96 yards to go with 4 minutes left in the game or so. And so it starts raining. It had rained the whole game. So everybody's wanting their rain shoes. They're destroyers. So
the receivers want the rain shoes.
So we're out there, and we're starting to come down.
The line-ers was like, whatever, dude.
Let's get the hell out of here. I'm tired.
So
it was all like, and it was like the 9-string like backup. Yeah, wide receivers trying to get reshoot. You're like, dude, can you take care of Bobby and Freddie real quick before?
Yeah. So guys are coming off the field and they're getting changed. They're trying to change their shoes, and to do it quick enough, we're literally the shoes they were wearing. We just took our scissors. We just cut the shoestrings off, pulled the shoe off, so we could get them off quicker, and put their other shoe on, tied it up, and went. So one time we're in the heat of the battle. We're starting to make the drive. And it's getting hectic on the sideline. We're trying to get all these shoes changed, and guys are going in and out. Like as a guy would come off the field, we'd change their shoes, and then he'd back out, he'd go. Well, then, so one time, a couple of the linemen are off, getting their shoes on, and it was right even before the series started. We're trying to put your shoes on. Kenny Jackson comes running over. He was our wide receiver coach. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You get the shoes on the wideouts first. I'm like, and I'm Kenny, if the wideouts. If the linemen don't block for the quarterback, they ain't going to get the ball to the wideouts.
Everybody's like flipping out. And everybody's just
Coach
like,
Joe comes running over and like, yeah, buddy, calm down. And he's like, Kenny, let him do his job, Kenny. So
that was the thing. He had it was a NASCAR pit crew.
Oh, it was crazy.
I mean, it was cut up, and then you had to put these. It was unbelievable what they were doing.
So by the time we got about midfield,
but also the Spider and Shopee and Kirk. You took that as a challenge, so yeah, it was like, all right, yeah. Look at
he's getting excited. He's getting crazy, gritty.
He's like this.
Kyle Brady was the last.
A little.
Kyle Brady was the last guy we got his shoes on. When he come out for a timeout.
Hey, thanks, Spider.
So yeah. So Drago, I will break you. So about midfield, we had.
I will kill the next man for you, Spider.
We had all the shoes changed by about midfield, and then, sure enough, we went down and scored with Brian Milne. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I feel like I felt an integral part of that.
Damn right, man. That took everybody that day, buddy.
It arrived.
Yeah.
And then I just tell Landon I'm on our show, and he's like, "Oh, the Rose Bowl people were in there, like, oh, congratulations, you're going to the Rose Bowl." We're like, so what? We're here to play for a national title,
we
man.
were talking about the difference between what a Big Ten championship means to us now. Like when you're being recruited, it's
so
like,
that's all you
Big
play
Ten
for. I get it. It's the right thing. It's the normal thing.
Yeah. But yeah, you said you came here for a natty.
We came here. No, when we came here, we did play for natties for 2 years.
Yeah.
Then we had 3 years independence, or 2 years independent and 3 years in the Big Ten. So we didn't. I personally think we changed the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. When Penn State came in, it became more about winning Big Ten titles and going out and winning national titles. Ohio State won one, Michigan won one in '97. We had the '94 team and all that, and it just became it became more important to win a national title than it became about winning Big Ten titles, which was like, for some reason, the Big Tens were happy with that. And I'll never understand why, but it is what it is.
Well, do you realize what we brought to the Big Ten? I mean, Penn State really brought the instant replay to the Big Ten.
Yeah, well,
really?
We're always the canary in the coal mine. That's the issue I have.
Really, the BCS, which became, BCS was the very first.
Why is that? Because we got screwed.
Yeah, because we got screwed in '94. I mean, the whole playoff systems was because of that.
Instant replay they bought in because the old man was furious one day, and it was such a blatant call, blatantly bad call, and it was just like they couldn't change it, and then they pushed forward. They got the instant replay eventually, and it started just the Big Ten. It was nowhere. That wasn't national, if I recall, right? For the year, just as the Big Ten. But enough of that stuff.
No, awesome. Well, appreciate all the stories, gentlemen, sitting down with us. Let's go. Have a little more drinks for Goon, maybe. Who knows?
All right.
We got dinner coming, right?
Yeah, who's counting?
Who's promised dinner, right, Spider?
Well, we got a lasagna. Here we go. Goon bought the salad, actually, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually amazing. But no, appreciate you guys sitting down with us. Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much.
Had a lot of
Good
fun.
luck to whoever wins the gifts.
Yeah,
Yes.
gifts. Like I said,
saved the
everything
paper,
will be,
by the way.
Yep, everything will be in the description below. So if you want to win either one of those giveaways, Joe Pa Wheatie Box or the team issued, I guess, Army, whatever that is, gear. Very cool stuff.
Salute to service.
Salute to service stuff. Yeah, it'll be in the description below and on my Twitter at Landon Tengwall. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Talk to you next time. Merry Christmas. Peace. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.